like 6 steps to do. Okay, so let me load up Microsoft Word for you guys. Okay, so last week you guys worked in groups and you had to go through the What is Critical Thinking worksheet. I'm just going to kind of review it so you remember what questions you were going over. So the worksheet itself gave you a few definitions of what critical thinking is, okay? And then you guys were told, I mean, you could use Google, do whatever you wanted to, and you had to answer these 3 questions. And then as a group, you guys had to come up with a definition of your own, okay? We were a little crunched for time last week, if you recall correctly. There was some issues getting connected, so we didn't go through these last week. But I said I would save them and we would go through them this week. So let's just really quickly see what you guys had to say in groups. Okay, and forgive me, I just like to check every once in a while, make sure that you guys are actually seeing my screen. Okay. All right, so this doesn't say exactly who was in what group, but it does say the spokesperson, your scribe from your group, has their name on there. So whoever was in Jasmine's group, these are your guys' answers. So one of the first questions was, how do the definitions compare to your understanding of critical thinking? And their answer was, there are a lot of similarities between definitions, and it mimicked basically what they kind of thought critical thinking was. The second question was, what is the most important aspect of critical thinking process? Their answer was, the most important thing is to observe or analyze the area for what you're trying to achieve. So I like those 2 words, observe and analyze. It doesn't say knee-jerk reaction and overreact, right? 3, how are ethics, writing, and critical thinking related? Okay. I would just state that ethics are a set of standards distinguishing right and wrong, but everyone has their own opinion and beliefs. Critical thinking is a way to look outside the box to understand different points of view. And writing would be a way that you would document and share what you know or what you've learned. Okay, so that's excellent. That is how all of those 3 are, they're interconnected, okay, especially to what we're doing in this class. So that was a good one. And the definition they came up with was, the easiest way to describe what critical thinking is to analyze the issue or the topic and come to a conclusion or a solution, okay? All right, the next group said for their definition, using deeper level thinking in order to form a better judgment of a subject or situation, like that. As far as the most important aspect of critical thinking, foresight of the situation, okay? Getting extra knowledge in order to have the full understanding. Really liked that. Whether we want to admit it or not, we're all biased, okay? And that is what provides our foresight. That's why becoming aware and learning and being conscious of others makes the biggest difference in so many situations. Okay, as far as the 3 connections, the ethics, writing, and critical thinking, determines whether it is right or wrong, traces back to personal morals of various situations, shows the validity in a topic when ethics and critical thinking are combined. Okay, so you guys did some really good deep thinking last week, which I'm sure you loved to do first thing in the morning. Okay, and then this is our last group, I believe. Okay, so they are answering the questions about the different definitions. And it says, we all agreed as a group that these definitions were fairly similar to what we already understood about the term critical thinking, but also viewed it as something that may be more of a general knowledge. Okay, so that's kind of, I like that. As far as the most important aspect, we agreed that the most important part of critical thinking is, thinking is analyzing the information given to you so that you have a full understanding of what is being asked or what needs to be resolved. I like that. A full understanding. No questions. As far as how the 3 are related, we think that these topics are related because they are all working towards a common goal. Excellent. And then they gave an example, a research paper, right? Absolutely. And then as far as a definition, looking at a situation at hand and analyze. Okay, simple.
It got cut off, and I believe at the top underneath my name is where the rest of the definition was. So
Oh,
it got cut off when I like copied and pasted it out of my document, and that's what that was.
okay. Well, honestly, even the little abbreviated one down here is cool too. But yeah, okay, so let's pop back up here. Okay, so their definition is looking at situation at hand and analyzing what is in your surroundings and using social cues to further distinguish your thinking. I like that. Social cues are a huge thing. Um, Take to the chat box, use Google really quickly if you need to, but somebody either use the chat box to tell me what a social cue is or give me an example of a social cue. Do that really quickly. If you have to just do a quick Google search, that's fine. But use the chat box. Tell me what is a social cue or give me an example of one. And I'm going to take a drink while you guys are doing that. Well, that's a good one. Tone of voice. Absolutely. Folding of arms, body language. Absolutely. See if we can get a couple more. Eye contact. Yes. Eye contact. Definitely. Body language, facial expressions. Yes. Have let's see, expressions and mannerisms we learned when we were younger. Okay, thank you for making that distinction as we were younger. Signals that people send through body language and expression. Okay, so you guys have that general idea. I don't know if any of you in here have had the opportunity to take an oral comm class. In my oral comm classes, I always bring up a fact, and I'm going to get it wrong now. I'll have to go double check it. But there is, they did a study and they said that when we garner meaning from something, like 90% of the meaning comes from unspoken, okay? Unspoken things. It's all about the social cues, the body language, all of that. So those are super important. So I like that you put that in your definition, okay? Using social cue. And then who was that? I think Ulysses, you said, yeah, mannerisms we weren't learned when we were younger. Did you guys learn all of the same things when you were younger? I don't know about you, but my family has quirks, okay? Everybody kind of in their family has their own little language. So critical thinking helps you to remember that maybe even some of that body language is going to be different from person to person. So all of that's important. All right, you guys did an awesome job. So let me show you. I wanted to point out to you, I gotta switch screens here, that I saved that document. Okay, the things that you guys did in your groups. So this was the original worksheet that we had pulled up in class. And then all of your answers, what I went through, is right here on that PDF document. So if you should ever want to go back to it, just know that it's there. Okay? But yeah, good job, you guys. You did an excellent job on that. All right. So if you guys are the sort who like to follow along, I am in, a matter of fact, I'll go all the way to the beginning here. I'm going to click on my learning plans. We are pretty much still going to stick in learning plan 1 for today. And we are going to head back into the critical thinking and activities and assessments, right? And then that's where the worksheet and your answers are. Now, I want to show you guys a video. It was here in Learning Plan 1. I don't know if you took the opportunity. Actually, you know what? I just realized it's not available to you. I'm going to make it available. there is a video in your Learning Plan 1 that talks about 5 tips to improve your critical thinking. So what I would like you guys to do is hopefully you have a notebook or something nearby you, or if you are somebody who likes to take notes on your computer, totally cool with that. I want you to pay attention to this video and write down what the 5 tips are to improve your critical thinking, okay? So I will do what I always do. I'm going to start it. We'll go through the first couple of seconds to make sure everybody can see the video and everybody can hear the video, okay? All right. So let me do this. Okay, take to the chat box. Everybody see and hear everything okay? Excellent. All right, so I will full screen this. As I said, pay attention. It's just 4 minutes long. Write down what those 5 tips are, okay?
Every day, a sea of decisions stretches before us. Some are small and unimportant, but others have a larger impact on our lives. For example, which politician should I vote for? Should I try the latest diet craze? Or will email make me a millionaire? We're bombarded with so many decisions that it's impossible to make a perfect choice every time. But there are many ways to improve our chances, and one particularly effective technique is critical thinking. This is a way of approaching a question that allows us to carefully deconstruct a situation, reveal its hidden issues, such as bias and manipulation, and make the best decision. If the critical part sounds negative, that's because, in a way, it is. Rather than choosing an answer because it feels right, a person who uses critical thinking subjects all available options to scrutiny and skepticism. Using the tools at their disposal, they'll eliminate everything but the most useful and reliable information. There are many different ways of approaching critical thinking, but here's one 5-step process that may help you solve any number of problems. 1. Formulate your question. In other words, know what you're looking for. This isn't always as straightforward as it sounds. For example, if you're deciding whether to try out the newest diet craze, your reasons for doing so may be obscured by other factors, like claims that you'll see results in just 2 weeks. But if you approach the situation with a clear view of what you're actually trying to accomplish by dieting, whether that's weight loss, better nutrition, or having more energy, that'll equip you to sift through this information critically, find what you're looking for, and decide whether the new fad really suits your needs. 2. Gather your information. There's lots of it out there, so having a clear idea of your question will help you determine what's relevant. If you're trying to decide on a diet to improve your nutrition, you may ask an expert for their advice, or seek other people's testimonies. Information gathering helps you weigh different options, moving you closer to a decision that meets your goal. 3. Apply the information, something you do by asking critical questions. Facing a decision, ask yourself, what concepts are at work? What assumptions exist? Is my interpretation of the information logically sound? For example, in an email that promises you millions, you should consider, what is shaping my approach to this situation? Do I assume the sender is telling the truth? Based on the evidence, is it logical to assume I'll win any money? 4. Consider the implications. Imagine it's election time, and you've selected a political candidate based on their promise to make it cheaper for drivers to fill up on gas. At first glance, that seems great. But what about the long-term environmental effects? If gasoline use is less restricted by cost, this could also cause a huge surge in air pollution, an unintended consequence that's important to think about. 5. Explore other points of view. Ask yourself why so many people are drawn to the policies of the opposing political candidate. Even if you disagree with everything that candidate says, exploring the full spectrum of viewpoints might explain why some policies that don't seem valid to you appeal to others. This will allow you to explore alternatives, evaluate your own choices, and ultimately help you make more informed decisions. This 5-step process is just one tool, and it certainly won't eradicate difficult decisions from our lives, but it can help us increase the number of positive choices we make. Critical thinking can give us the tools to sift through a sea of information and find what we're looking for. And if enough of us use it, it has the power to make the world a more reasonable place.
All right, you guys, I want you to take to the chat box here, and tell me what number 1 was. What was the first tip that they shared? Perfect. Excellent. Formulate your question. Okay, so as we move on in this class and you are starting to look at the assignments that we have, I want you to reflect back on these and see how they actually help you as you are working on research paper. Okay, this research paper that we're going to discuss later. Your question is directly related to your thesis statement, to that topic. What is it that you are trying to prove? What do you want your reader to know? And that is what you are going to ask when you go to find sources to help you kind of back up your claim, okay? All right, what was the second tip that they mentioned? Awesome. Okay. Gather your information. In order to write a paper and have a really strong point and have a really strong argument, we need to use facts and opinions actually from other sources to kind of back us up. You know, I can say one thing, but you may look at it and say, okay, big deal, whatever. But if you have somebody else to back you up, then it's good. But you want to make sure that it's a solid, reliable source. Okay, so you have to keep that in mind as you're gathering that information. Okay, what was number 3? Whew, you guys are super fast here. Okay. Yes, apply that information. So once you've gathered that information, you need to apply it appropriately to what you're doing. Okay? Keeping that question in mind, being able to apply it appropriately so you answer that question. All right. What was number 4? You guys are totally typing it and waiting, aren't you? Okay, consider the implications. Numbers 4 and 5 are similar in nature in that they want us to, you know, in your definitions, your critical thinking definitions, a couple groups said that part of critical thinking was thinking outside the box. Okay, that's pretty much where steps 4 and 5 or tips 4 and 5 take us. We need to think outside ourselves and consider those implications. Consider all of the different factors that go into whatever it is you are researching, whatever it is in regards to your question. Things aren't always what they seem. That's kind of the purpose for research, okay? And sometimes you may do research and realize that, you know, your line of thinking may not be 100%. It might not be what you thought was correct, okay? But if you're a strong critical thinker, you are willing to adjust your view and your belief towards something, okay? So consider all the implications and factors. All right, number 5. Awesome. Okay, explore other points of view. Now, we have in our recent past had an election in our country. How many of you, and I don't need specifics, but how many of you possibly disagree with some of your friends and loved ones about politics? Just a yes or a no. Okay. I would say that's pretty common for everybody. Here's the deal. You should always try to see things from that different point of view. That doesn't mean that you have to agree with what the other person is thinking, but it is good for you to try to see where they're coming from. Okay. Sometimes if you are able to step back and see where that other party, that other person is coming from, it helps you to be less, I don't want to say hostile, but it helps you just to kind of understand their thought process. Okay. Um, when writing a persuasive essay, we're going to ask you, yes, we want you to have an argument. We want you to have a point, a side, and we want you to try to convince your reader why you are correct. But one of the best ways to do that in a research paper is to actually address the other side of the coin, okay? The other point of view, and then explain why maybe that side isn't quite where we want to be, okay? So I want you guys to hang on to these 5 tips because they're going to help you as we continue on and do some of these heavy projects, presentations, things like that we have going on, okay? All right. I'm going to close my screen for just a moment because I think I heard some beeping when I first started talking to you this morning. So give me a second to double check who is here again, all right? Take a breather, take a drink of your coffee, whatever you need to do. Oh, okay. Make sure that I have everybody. Oh, I did miss one of you. I'm glad I double checked. Okay. All right. All right. So I'm going to take us back into Blackboard. Like I said, I just wanted to make sure that I had a correct count of who was with us today. I apologize. I have a frog in my throat this morning. Okay, here is what we are going to do. I'm going to head back into just learning plan 1. We're going to shift a little bit, okay? So we've talked quite a bit about critical thinking, okay? Before we move on, I want you guys, all of you need to go into this folder right here. So you see the folder I'm pointing to? Semester project, identify a topic, okay? I need you all to go into this folder because there's something I want you to do. Don't panic, just scroll, okay? I want you to go to this activity. It says gather information about your morals, okay? Load it up. Let me know if you do not see this activity right here. I'm going to give you guys a moment to load it up. Let me know if you don't see it. Okay. Let me go back and take you through the process again. Okay, so learning plan 1. Okay. In learning plan 1, there's this folder right here, semester project, identify a topic, I can speak. Identify a topic, and then you scroll down until you see activity, gather information. Okay, let me know if you still can't find it. Okay, I'm gonna wait just about half of a minute here just to make sure everybody is there. Perfect, okay. Excellent. Right. There are two gather information tabs, but one says gather information about your morals and one says gather information about your personal interests. We are looking at the gather information about your morals, okay? We'll discuss the other one later. All right, so this is an interesting little activity that you guys are going to do on your own. It'll take maybe 5 minutes, if that, okay? So let me just explain this a little bit. There are all kinds of like inventories and self-assessments on the internet. I mean, like a ton of them. And you can take them regarding like your values, interests, and choosing only one is limiting, but you know, we do what we can do. So this link, and I'm going to open it up and kind of show you, will actually allow you to focus on a singular moral situation, okay? This is going to sound weird, but just trust me. Here's the situation. You work for a company that you have to kind of help program self-driving cars to make moral decisions regarding unavoidable traffic circumstances, okay? You are going to choose, once we get there, it lets you choose like your language preference, choose English, okay? Then you're going to scroll down and click on Start Judging, and I'll show you in a second. You're going to be given like 2 scenarios on 13 different slides, and you're going to click on the slide that indicates what you think the self-driving car should do, okay? In regards to which one do you think is the most moral choice, okay? So note, pay attention, pay close attention to the pictures because the pictures show you gender, age, body counts, animals, body types, traffic signals, even people who are illegally walking across the intersection. If people are holding a medical bag like they're a doctor, okay, or maybe a bag of money because they're criminals. So look at the pictures as you are making your judgments, okay? I'm just going to pop it up so you guys can see it. Okay, don't start it yet or anything. So you guys, it should load up like this and you're going to scroll down. Oh, you know what? It remembers me. I already chose English. So it will ask you to choose a language, choose English, and then start judging, okay? And this is what it looks like. So you have to decide. So what this means is if it drives straight, it's going to kill these 2 people, okay? If it drives to the corner, it's going to kill these 2 people. Your job is to decide which one you think is the most moral decision. In either situation, people are going to die, okay? Once you decide on which image you want, you click on it. Okay, I'm just going to click, and then it'll take you to the next slide. Once you get to the very, very end, it'll load up a page, and it will ask you if you want it to explain your results or explain your choices. I want you to load that up and read it. Okay. So here's what I want you guys to do. I want you to take this morals test activity here. When you are all done, I want you to type in the chat box, done, so I know that you're all finished with it. And then we're going to discuss it, okay? Any questions on that? Okay. Then I'm going to mute myself, and you guys just let me know when you're done, okay? All right, so now that you guys are done with that, what did you think of that morals test? Before we look too much into it, just give me your initial thoughts of that. Do you think it is an messed up? You think it's an accurate test of morals? It's a very, very unusual test, isn't it? Okay, let me load up. So keep in mind, I'm going to load up my results, but please know that my results are actually just me kind of clicking, like I really didn't pay attention too much. So at the end, it asks if you want us to explain the judgments or something like that. Okay, so just me going through it quickly. Now it's telling me that these are kind of my moral preferences. Okay, so apparently I'm unbiased, I guess, between large people and fit people. However, I tend to be a little bit more biased towards saving females. Okay. Protecting passengers, a little more than half matters a lot to me. Or excuse me, avoiding intervention. Protecting passengers, apparently I don't care a lot about the people in the car. Apparently I'm very biased to younger people and people who have what would be considered a higher social value. Okay. Upholding the law apparently means a lot to me, as does saving more lives. And as you can see, I prefer humans well over pets. Okay. Just out of curiosity, did this silly little what we're going to say inaccurate morals test, tell you anything about yourself that you think was interesting? Just out of curiosity, let me know. It's a little bit of a gruesome, weird test. I care about other people and I wouldn't recite. Okay, that's cool. Mine said I favored males. Interesting. Okay. The thing that I found interesting on mine is the whole avoiding intervention. Mine said favored pets. You know, in all the times and all the classes that I have done this, I don't know, maybe would be surprised, maybe would not be surprised that a majority of the students usually end up between the humans and the pets, tend to have more preference for the pets than they do the humans. So I'm not sure what that says about us, but okay. So you may be wondering why on earth I made you take this. Okay. As part of your homework or a part of things that you guys will have to work on, part of it is I really want you guys to know what it is you believe, what it is you stand for, okay? Because we're really going to be getting into some interesting topics. You know, and some of the topics you may not have so much of a stance, but I want you to have an open mind and I want you guys to be ready to start thinking. And I want you to be ready to start thinking about hard choices, okay? They're not going to be as bad as trying to judge who has to die in a situation, because that's pretty much all that test was. People were going to die. Tell us who you want to die, okay? So be prepared, not so much to share with us what your morals are, but be prepared to really express what your stances are on some potentially touchy subjects, okay? And be able to do it by critically thinking and being able to express yourself clearly and logically, okay? In this class, even though it's virtual, you guys will actually be working in groups and you will be asked to give group presentations. In the virtual format, my classes have actually liked to do the presentations in the virtual format versus face-to-face. They find it less threatening and they don't get quite as nervous, okay? So you guys are going to have to work in groups and you're going to have to discuss topics. And in those groups, you may not agree on the same topic or on the same side of a topic, okay? So this is where you're going to use, let me see, what step was that? Step 5, actually 4 and 5, to look at those different points of view, okay? really know where you stand, but try to understand why people believe the opposite. Okay. All right. So that test is probably just a little bit more of an entertainment than anything. I don't know that I've ever had a student that had like life altering aha moments, but it's just a little bit of fun. Okay. So here is what I would like to do before we jump too much into everything. I'm just kind of checking my time here, making sure we get through it. I think there may only be one or two of you who do not have your textbooks yet, still waiting for textbooks. That's okay. What we are going to be doing, I'm going to break you guys up into groups, and I'm going to assign each group a chapter, and I have some questions for you to answer, okay? If you are somebody who does not have a textbook, happens. If you don't have a textbook, I would like you to volunteer to be the scribe for your group, because the scribe, we need a scribe in every group to write down the answers to the questions, okay? Because we're going to go through these. So if you don't have your textbook, I would ask that you please be the scribe, and then that will help you kind of get that information in your brain a little bit until you can get that textbook and actually read those chapters, okay? So let me show you. Let's take us back into Blackboard. Let's see, I gotta get to Blackboard. Okay. You know what? Okay, so try not to be too annoyed with me. I'm making you kind of bounce around from folder to folder. Still in Learning Plan 1. Want you to, in Learning Plan 1, okay, we were in the critical thinking folder. We were in the semester project folder. I have another folder that says chapters 1, 2, and 9 review. Okay, I'm going to click that open. What I have in here are some questions for this group activity that I want you to do. So I'm going to just load the PDF up because it'll load up right here. So here is what I want you guys to do. I'll tell you the groups in just a moment, okay? Whichever, so group 1 will get chapter 1. And so group 1, what I'm going to want you to answer is, that's supposed to be a question mark, not a slash, sorry about that. Why study argument? Okay, hopefully you've read chapter 1, you've had a chance to go through there. What logical reason could we have for studying argument? Okay, want you to answer, under what conditions does argument work best? And under what conditions does argument fail? Okay, so I'm going to want you, just group 1, want you guys to discuss those 3 questions and have the scribe write down whatever your group thinks is the best answer for those 3 questions. I am not looking for paragraphs for any of these, okay? We're keeping it simple. Group 2 will get chapter 2. Now, chapter 2 talks about the rhetorical situation. Rhetorical situation has 5 elements, okay? The term trace should hopefully spark your memory. Group 2, I'm going to want you to identify and explain each one, okay? And when I say explain each one, again, I'm not looking for paragraphs. Keep it as simple as possible. Group 3, you're going to get chapter 9. And what I want you guys to do is just to list the 8 special features that help visual arguments be convincing. I don't want you to explain them. I just want you to list them, okay? So let me get those groups together here. Okay. So I can tell you. So before I put you out in breakout groups, I'll tell you who we have. So group 1, who will take care of the chapter 1. And again, this is right there in Learning Plan 1. Okay, so you guys will have access to this document so you can remember what questions it is that you're supposed to answer. Okay. So group 1 is going to be Bailey, Jasmine, Nick, and Ulysses. Okay. Group 2 is going to be Angela, Beatriz, Ella, and Taya. Group 3 is going to be Alexia, Alexis, Lexi. I didn't do that on purpose, just FYI. Alexia, Alexis, Lexi, and Nika. Okay. What are the odds that all three of you would be put in one group? So, everybody know what group they're in? Anybody need me to read that again? Obviously, you're just going to get put right in it, but does everybody remember where to find these questions in Blackboard? Let me rephrase that. If you don't know where to find them, let me know. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. Remember, if you don't have a book, please volunteer to be the scribe. I want you guys to discuss. This should be group answers. Obviously, use your textbook because that's all in there. I'm going to give you guys, I'm going to say 10 minutes. I think 10 minutes should be sufficient. Excuse me. So watch the clock in your breakout sessions. Pardon me. I'm so sorry, you guys. Watch the clock in your breakout sessions. Right before it hits 10 minutes, I'll go ahead and start the countdown for the breakout groups to come back to the main room. I'm trying to think. Remember that you have to actually join the group, okay? It should give you that option to join. So, okay. Anybody have any questions before I put you in your breakout groups? Okay. All right. Well, take 10 minutes and I'll see you guys then, okay? Oh, let's see here. So if you guys can hear me, there we go. Jasmine, did you get like booted out and then had to join back in? Can you hear me, Jasmine?
Kicked me out and I can hear you.
Okay, it did kick you out. Okay, so let me see. Does it show you the option to join your group at all? I know, because I know it kicked you.
It did, and I said yes, and then it kicked me out.
Oh, crap. Okay, so I'm going to try to do something really quickly. All right, so then I'm going to try to put you back in your group. Move to 1, right? Okay, see if it gives you another option to join. Perfect. So let's go through what you guys came up with for this chapter review. Okay, so group 1, they answered, so why study argument? Argument helps students' ability to read and think critically. It does. It also keeps your brain power going too, right? Wouldn't it be boring if everybody just agreed with you? Let's see. Under what conditions does argument work best? Argument works best when it includes an issue, an arguer, an audience, and a common good. Okay, let's look at this one. Can we highlight this one? Okay, because the question was, under what conditions does argument work best? Okay, that you will actually be able to use it for good if there is a common good there. Okay, and under what conditions does argument fail? Argument fails when there's no disagreement or reason to argue. Maybe even tack on there, or people that just like to argue for fun, right? Okay, so chapter 1, that was kind of the basis of chapter 1. Chapter 1 was understanding argument and then conducting research. We're going to be talking about conducting research later on in class, not necessarily today, but I wanted you guys to kind of delve a little bit deeper into the argument aspect of it. Okay, so let's look at chapter 2. Chapter 2 is all about the rhetorical situation, okay? And the rhetorical situation, we want all of you to understand, has these 5 elements, okay? You guys are going to be asked to employ these 5 elements within this class, okay? So I want to make sure you understand what they are. Okay, so if you can remember trace, trace will help you remember the rhetorical situation. The T is for text, basically the written argument, okay? R is for the reader that must care enough about the situation to pay attention and change perspective, possibly, okay? Your reader maybe could change their mind by what is the argument written in your text. Okay, A is for author. That's the person who writes the argument to try to convince an audience. Okay, this can be you guys. C is our constraints. Okay, constraints are things that are part of a situation. So constraints would be beliefs, people, events. Okay, those things may limit the targeted audience. Okay, because kind of as we had mentioned before, we didn't all grow up the same. We didn't have the same experience. We haven't been through the same events. Okay, so our perspective is different. And believe it or not, different perspectives are considered constraints when we are talking about the rhetorical situation. E is for exigence. Okay, nice funky word. Exigence is a part of a situation that shows there is something controversial that happens that happened and needs to be resolved with audience response. Okay. And I just wanted to, forgive me, I didn't get to that page yet. I just wanted to hit on exigence, just in a little bit more detail, because I want to make sure you guys understand this one. So those of you who have your textbook, if you want to flip to page 31 in your textbook, there is some examples and a little bit of a further explanation. So I want you guys to fully understand exigence. Okay, so this is from page 31 in your textbook. Okay, under where it says what is the exigence. So the situation that they've given us is, you're a writer, okay? You are writing an argumentative paper, okay? So let's see here. Make sure I have the right one. The exigence of a situation will provide an author with motivation to write about an issue. Okay, so think of maybe some controversial topics that you just know off the top of your head. Okay, your motivation is within there. Issues often emerge from real life events that signal something is wrong. Okay. Let's see here. One student found a topic when a relative who had spent time in jail could not get employment after he was released. Okay. Another student from a country outside the United States became interested in intercultural differences and decided to write about the relative value of retaining her own culture or assimilating to a new one. Yet another student discovered an exigence when she read a negative article about Barbie dolls and remembered her positive experiences with them when she was younger. Okay. Such occurrences can cause the writer to ask questions associated with the exigence. So these questions are associated with the exigence. They can help you. Okay. What issues, including problems or defects, are revealed? Okay. Are they new issues or recurring issues? And how severe is the problem or the defect? Okay. So the issue is that part of the situation that is controversial. Maybe there's something needs to be resolved. Okay. So referring to the girl who was talking about the Barbie dolls. Okay. Barbie gets a bad rap, right? Because unrealistic measurements, whatever. She was only ever white forever. Okay, so there's a lot of bad things. But this student actually had a positive experience. So she wants, the exigence in there is obviously controversial, Barbie in herself. She, in her paper, wants to persuade her reader to realize Barbie's actually a good thing. She can be a good role model. Look at modern Barbie now. Okay, we've given her more realistic measurements, right? We have Barbies from all kinds of cultures that are finally being represented. We finally have Barbies that aren't just, the happy homemaker. We have Barbies who are doctors, NASA Barbies. So in her paper, she could flip it around and take a negative and make it positive. Okay. So if you're struggling with constraints and exigence, I want to make sure that you guys reflect back into your textbook for those. Okay. All right. Let's go through chapter 9 and then I'm going to have you guys go on break for a little bit. Okay. All right. So chapter 9 is about the visual argument. So you guys had to, you did the assignment, applying critical thinking to visuals. Okay. And I apologize. I did not get those graded yet. I will explain that later. But in chapter 9, it talks about 8 special features that actually make visual arguments convincing. Okay. Some of you guys came up with some really cool, well, actually all of you came up with some really cool images. Okay. So in order to make a visual argument convincing, you really should shoot for these 8 things. Okay. Visual argument is immediate and tangible and pulls you into the picture. Like it just has your attention right away. Visual argument often establishes a common ground. Okay, there's that common ground again, and invites viewer identification through shared values and point of view. Visual argument often evokes an emotional response. We see that used quite frequently. Visual argument often relies on the juxtaposition of materials from very different categories, inviting the viewer to make new links, new associations, seeing something differently, maybe for the first time. Visual argument often employs icons to prompt immediate response. Visual argument often employs symbols. Visual argument is selective, specific. And visual argument invites unique interpretations from viewers. Okay, so you get to have an interpretation. So this is excellent. To me, this was a good way to do crash course review. You guys did awesome. I'm going to save this document and put it in the folder there in Blackboard where we had gotten the questions from. Okay. All right. So here is what I'm going to have you guys do. I'm going to have you guys go on a 10-minute break. Okay. We're going to come back. I'm going to explain a few things and then we're going to jump in. Okay. So take a 10-minute break. Go be human. I will put the timer on so we are all kind of on the same page here. Okay, so go ahead, take a 10-minute break. We'll come back, do a little bit more explanation and some discussing. Okay, see you in 10 minutes. The chapters that we just did the review of are going to kind of help set the stage for what we're going to be doing in the next couple of weeks here. One of the things that I want to go through with you guys is your major research paper. Okay, before you panic, please just remember this research paper is not done until the end of the semester. So you guys, we're going to be working on it for basically, what do we got? For 14 weeks, 15 weeks, we're going to be working on it. Okay. So I don't want you guys to panic as we start going through the assignment details. Okay, we're going to take it piece by piece so it's not quite so overwhelming. Also, I wanted to make mention, I think there may be a couple of you who are having connection issues. If you guys remember how to send the private chat, the one just to me, feel free to let me know if you're having some connection issues. Okay, maybe we can get them figured out. All right, so I'm going to take us back into Blackboard so we can talk about that research paper. You're excited. I know you're excited. Okay, it's going to take us back to our timer, so we got to get away from that. All right, I didn't save the document yet because I had the timer up for you guys, but I will put your chapter review answers right back into this folder. Okay. All right, so if you guys want to know where I'm going, learning plans, learning plan 1, scroll down to this semester project, identify a topic. Okay, this is the folder I'm taking us into. We are going to talk about your big paper, which is the your research essay. Okay, you are going to write a persuasive research essay, also known as an argumentative research essay. Okay. Feel free on your own time if you want to. There is a video overview of this if you want, but we're going to go through it. However, if you're at home and you're like, I know we talked about it, but I'm not sure, you can go to that video and just kind of double check it. Okay, so I am going to bore you and we're going to read this, okay? Because there's a lot of details here. All right. The research essay is the capstone project of this class, okay? Meaning it is like the ultimate big thing that you're doing in this class. In this paper, you guys are going to show your mastery of persuasion in the writing process. You're going to use all that critical thinking, all those skills. Your writing will display an understanding of and ability to use the audience appeals, logic, intensive research, and critical thinking to form an argument intended, okay? So when you're writing this paper, we want you to think about your audience as a very skeptical, okay, people who maybe don't believe the same way as you, a skeptical academic audience, okay? That is who you are writing for. Your paper must be both formatted and documented according to MLA or APA standards, okay? You choose. It is your choice whether you want to use MLA or APA, all right? In addition, you must display in your essay a deep understanding of your selected topic, okay? Remember those 5 tips for critical thinking? Those will help you get that deep understanding. Include valid points made by those holding opposite or conflicting ideas. Okay, so you're not only going to make your point. Remember, step 5, checking other people's points of view. You're actually going to put their point of view in there, their ideas. Your goal is to prove that the majority of the quality research, prove that the majority of the quality research, as well as the process of critical, logical thinking, support your essay's assertions, okay? That basically your research proves that your side is right, okay? Or that your side has the strongest argument. A majority of your essay must be original writing, okay? It has to come from your brain. You guys can use quotes and paraphrases and summaries and statistics and, what other borrowed material but they are supposed to play that secondary supporting role. The bulk of it needs to come from your brain, from your heart, okay? Your essay must be free of errors in logic, and it needs to follow a recognized pattern of logical development, okay? In the weeks to come, we're going to talk a lot more about inductive and deductive reasoning, okay? And we will talk about different patterns of logical development. So as I'm going through this, I don't want you guys to start having too much anxiety about this because you're unsure of some of the terms or the concepts in here. We will be covering them, okay? In addition, the tone and style of this essay should mimic that of a scholarly discourse, which would include colloquial expressions and slang. Okay, we are going for academic speech. Okay, that's what we're not going to use slang. We're not going to use any weird sayings, anything like that. Topic generation is part of the writing process, and your idea should lend itself to 12 to 15 pages of double-spaced writing. Okay, so how many pages? 12 to 15, right? So when you guys, some of your homework for this next week is going to be about coming up with a topic that you could realistically write a 12 to 15 page paper about, okay? Your essay should realize the scope of the topic suggested by your essay's title and thesis statement, and the depth of both your research and discussion should be well above a remedial cursory examination. Basically, what that means is this is English Composition 2. Okay, so we want you to bump up your writing. We're going to elevate your writing just a little bit more. Okay. Please make note that if by chance you guys do not reach the full 12 pages, and when we say 12 pages, it's 12 pages of writing. So that does not include your works cited or references page. It is 12 pages of writing. If you guys don't meet that, you will automatically get 10% right off of your final grade. Okay. Body and supporting paragraphs have topic sentences that clearly align to your thesis statement. Paragraphs must be well developed, unified, and coherent. Okay, so believe it or not, when I grade your essays, I am going to look for thesis statements. So thesis statement, topic sentences, I'm going to go for all the little nitpicky things. All right, so as far as what you need to have in here, you guys need to have 10 sources, okay? No less than 3 internet sources, no less than 3 print sources, and no less than 1 primary source. Okay, so when we say internet source, that means sources that you just literally Googled, okay, and you found it on your topic. Print sources can be those ones that you find through like EBSCOhost, through NWTC's online library. Okay, even though you're finding it online, they're actually pieces that have been printed somewhere. Okay. Anybody want to take to the chat box and tell me what a primary source is? Because we've talked about secondary source, but what's a primary source? Do you guys remember that from English Comp 1? Tell me in the chat box if you remember what a primary source is. Nobody? Okay. Primary source is information that you gather yourself. So, oh, nope, not the book. It has to be information that you gather yourself, meaning an interview, maybe a online survey. Let's say you are going to write a paper, something that has to do with COVID, okay? And you happen to have a friend who is a nurse. So if you talked to your friend and asked her questions or him questions regarding their experience in this past year with COVID, that would be a primary source. Okay, and we will be talking about that more and more throughout this semester of how you guys can get a primary source in your paper. Okay, you also must, okay, it is a must. If you do not include like works cited page, references page, and in-text citations, it automatically fails. You guys have to cite your sources. So your essay must include parenthetical and works cited references for all of your sources. Okay. This entire paper is worth 300 points. It is not due until the very, very end of the semester, but we want you to know what you're working towards in this class. Okay. Do any of you have any questions on that? I know it's a lot, but do you have any questions? Okay, here's what I want you guys to do. In this folder here, if you scroll down, you guys see this link right here that says Assessment Essay Requirements. I want you guys to quickly take it. It's 4 questions, okay? Take it really quickly and then let me know in the chat box when you're done, okay? So go take that test really, really quickly. I don't go over all the details of this to scare you, but I do want you to know what your main focus for this class is, okay? How are you guys feeling? Do you guys have any questions regarding this essay? Any at the moment? There may be questions later, and that's fine. You can always ask those. Okay. Well, I'm going to have you guys do something. So we know that this is a substantial paper. Okay, this paper has to be at least 12 pages. So as we had mentioned before, you need to find a subject, okay? A subject to write your paper on that is substantial enough to cover those 12 pages. Okay, so you guys are going to do something in groups here. If you're still in the same learning plan as me, there towards the bottom there's something that says activity, narrow from subject to topic. Okay, so what I'm going to have you guys do in groups is I am going to assign you a subject. Okay, and in your groups you are going to look at that subject and decide on, let me see, I want you guys to discuss and come up with 4 subtopics. Okay, let's look at the example that we have here. So subjects are that, like, the broader classifications, okay, that often include subcategories or subdivisions that we call topics. Okay, so subjects are the broader, topics are the ones where we start to get a little bit more detailed, more specific. So for example, if you're in a nursing degree program, breastfeeding is a subject that might interest you because of either personal experiences, curiosities, beliefs, whatever, health-wise. But there's lots of subtopics, and some controversial, some not, that really could fall under that big subject, okay? And so we list, quite a few of them here. Could be like the rights versus public decency laws versus formula, maybe cultural attitudes, diet choices, environmental influences. So, look at that. We started with just a really broad subject, and we were able to come up with a whole bunch of subtopics or just topics in regards to that broad subject. Okay. So I'm going to have you guys go back out into the breakout groups that you were already in this morning. And you guys are going to discuss I'm looking at our time here. I'm going to give you guys about 12 minutes to discuss. And I want you to come up with 4 or 5 subtopics for the subject that I am going to give you. Okay. So let me take us into this new window here. You may remember my wheel from the first day of class, but I don't have names on there right now. Right now I have subjects, okay? I am going to use the wheel to assign you a subject, or assign a subject to your group, okay? So let's look at this. So this is group 1. Just in case you don't remember what group you're in, group 1 was Bailey, Jasmine, Nick, and Ulysses, okay? So let's see what subject you guys are going to need to discuss. Okay, so group 1, your subject is vaccination. When you get put in your group, you guys have to discuss and decide on 4 subtopics, 4 to 5 subtopics that could be discussed in a research paper. Okay, what about vaccinations? Let's be a little bit more specific, okay? All right, group 2 was Angela, Beatrice, Ella, and Taya. Okay, let's see what you guys get. Ooh. Okay, group 2, you guys ended up with stem cell research. Okay, so 4 to 5 subtopics in regards to stem cell research. Group 3, you were all of the Lexes, okay? Alexia, Lexi, Alexis, and Nika. Okay, let's see what you guys end up with. Okay. All right. So drug legalization, pros, cons, for, against, whatever the subtopics you guys want to choose, it will be up to you. So everybody know what group they're in. They know what their subject is. Anybody have questions on what you have to do in your groups? So discuss, come up with 4 to 5 subtopics. See if one of you will volunteer to be a scribe, because we're going to want to know what the subtopics are that you came up with for your subject. Okay, you're going to put those in the chat box once we come back to our main room. So let me load up our breakout groups. Okay, let's see here. I got to get back here. Make sure it didn't mess up my groups. It didn't. Okay. All right. So I'll see you guys in 12 minutes. Okay. Okay, let's make sure everybody hopefully got switched over okay. All right, so if you guys could take this moment to, whoever the scribe was, write what your main subject was, and then let us know what subtopics you were able to come up with. If you can put those in the chat box, we would love it. Ooh, look at that. Group 1 already has those in there. Okay. So we'll wait for all of the groups, and then we will go through them. Okay, so it looks like we're just letting group 2 type up then. Okay, awesome. All right. Let's look at these, okay? So this was just kind of an exercise to help you, because you're going to end up having to decide on a topic or a subject, and then you're going to have to narrow it down to a topic that will hopefully spread for 12 pages. So let's look at these. Okay, so vaccines, that was group 1. That was their main subject was vaccine. Their subtopics, they came up with understanding attitudes towards vaccination, exploring the impact of vaccinations, and then they, little details there. So like autism, side effects, things like that. Production of vaccines and if they're safe for the public. One example that could be used is how the COVID vaccine was made very fast since the trials were so short. Okay, that definitely would be a great example to use for something. So great job. Okay, so let's see here. Drug legalization was group 3. That was their main subject. Subtopics they came up with were drug use in adolescents. Okay. Marijuana legalization and income revenue from it. Marijuana as a possible treatment option in the medical field. jail prison sentences and possibly releasing inmates who only have drug-related crimes as well. Okay. Number of drugs that are acceptable, I guess. Crime reduction, a possible job creation. So if you look at the subtopics they came up with, we don't have time to do it in class today, but I think I'm going to save these. Some of these subtopics could actually be used together in a thesis statement. You could pull out like 2 or 3 of these subtopics, put them in your thesis statement, and then you really would have room to grow in that 12 page span. Okay. So like I said, I'm going to save these so we can kind of nitpick and do stuff with them next week. All right. And then our last group, group 2, had stem cell research. That was their main subject. So they came up with, as subtopics, gene therapy. Okay. Religion is definitely something that we look at through that. Wound healing, cloning, and medicine. So there again, you could take 3 or 4 of those things. You could actually use those subtopics to create a thesis and write a paper. Okay. All right. As I said, I'm going to copy and paste those. We're going to do more with them next week, I think. Now, here's what I need to do. So we're right at like what, 10:13. Let me take you guys into Blackboard. Okay. Wrong page. Okay. So we just did this. We just went through narrowing from a subject to topic. Okay. I want you guys to use the experience that you had here with your groups, because you are going to create a topic generation journal. Okay. This is your homework for this week. This is just you. You will be doing this one. So for this journal, you're going to reflect on subjects and topics. They can be the ones that you discussed in your group. They could be some of them that were in the chat box, or you could completely think of something else. Okay. But kind of think of that whole process of going from a subject to having potential topics. Okay. In this journal, I want you to discuss what subjects/topics initially piqued your interests. Okay. It could be the ones we discussed, or maybe ones that you're thinking about, and why you maybe discarded some topics. Maybe you did some research and you're like, no, that's a stupid topic. I don't want to write on that one. Okay. But I want you to tell me about it in this journal. If there is a topic that you thought might be interesting, but decided not to write on it, I want you to tell me, like, was it too broad? Was it too complicated? Whatever. Over this next week, I'm going to want you guys to do some research on your own and to come up with a potential topic or 2. And I want you to tell me what topic or topics you're thinking of and why. Okay. Now, there's one little aspect that I want to hit on with this research paper. What we want to do is, eventually with the research paper, we do want you to have a source in there that will actually tie in your topic to your community or your state. So an example could be, gun control is a subject, but effective gun laws for Wisconsin would be a more manageable topic. Okay. So kind of keep those things in mind as you're researching. This topic journal isn't due until right before class next week, because I really want you to take this full week to do some research, to do some thinking, and kind of do exactly what you did in your groups. Okay. Take the subject, and what are some of the subtopics that you could talk about with that subject? Okay. If you're like, oh my gosh, I can't even think of any subjects, you know what? If you didn't like any of them that any of the groups discussed today, take to Google and simply write out, because remember, we're doing a persuasive essay. So do persuasive essay topics. Okay. I love Google. Google's fantastic. Okay. And you will find a plethora of links that will list so many persuasive essay topics. Okay, so if you're stumped and you didn't really care for any of them that we discussed today, or even any of them that I still had left on our wheel here, go do some research. Okay, and then just do your best to fill out this topic generation journal. Now, usually I get asked, okay, well, how long does my journal have to be? You're not writing me a paper, but I would say, I feel like you're probably going to need a paragraph or two to fully explain and answer questions. Let me know where you're going. So for your topic journal, I would say shoot for anywhere between 6 to 15 sentences. Okay? That should give you plenty of space to answer those questions and address what the topic is that you need to do. Do you guys have any questions on this topic generation journal and what you need to do for it? Use the chat box to let me know. Okay. All right. So here is what I want to show you guys. I am taking us into Word. I want to go through some homework stuff, okay? So we just went through the topic journal. All I'd put this here is just so you can remember how to get to the topic journal. It's in Learning Plan 1, the semester project folder, and it's topic generation journal. That's the assignment. And that's due by next Friday, right before class, okay? The only other things that I want you to do before we meet on next Friday is it would be in your best benefit to review these different activities that are in the semester project folder. There's an activity that you can preview the sample research essays. There's an activity to gather information about your personal interests. And there's an activity to gather information about your career-related subjects. They're all right here. Sample research essays. We already did the moral ones together. You could take a personal interest inventory if you're stumped. You can use NWTC's online library resources to gather information about career-related subjects that maybe you'd like to write on. Okay. If you are unsure what to do, there is a video that will guide you through some of the finer resources, I guess, that deal with career-related issues, okay? Maybe go through them and write a list of subjects that interest you. Then narrow that subject down, okay? Give us some subtopics. That will help you complete this topic journal, okay? What you need to know, those aren't assignments. They're just enrichment activities to help you guys out, okay? The only thing that maybe I should add in here is that just make sure you're doing research for your topic, okay? So the only real assignment that you have to do and turn in is the topic journal, but I would encourage you to look through these activities in the semester project folder. And then in the critical thinking folder, there's an article in there called The Path to Critical Thinking. I would encourage you to read that. It's not very long at all, but it's another thing that will help you with your research paper and with some of the stuff that we have that's coming up, okay? So use the chat box. Do you guys have any questions on this? Okay, hold on, my chat box just went weird. Okay, I got no questions. Okay, let me, sorry, my screen is going weird here. Okay, so I need to go through a couple of things with you. So you guys, you know, you have to do the topic journal. You have to do some research to kind of help you out with that topic. I always suggest try to find a couple of topics, because sometimes what happens is you think, this is the topic that I want to write my research paper about. And then you get started and you're like, this isn't going to work. I'm not going to be able to get 12 pages. So it's okay to find a couple of topics if you want to do that. Okay. You also need to know that whatever topic that you put for your topic journal, with the idea that it's for your research paper, if something happens and you have a hard time with it, you're not sold to that topic. But as we continue to work on this research paper, I'm going to want you to let me know if you change your topic, if your topic ends up being different than the one that you listed in your journal. Okay. Okay. So a few items here. I will not be available if you guys email me tomorrow and a good portion of Sunday. I will not be available. My grandmother passed away, so there are funeral services and things like that that I have to attend to. So if you email me and I don't respond, within hours, maybe not even 24 hours, I will respond to you by Monday, no matter what. But I don't want you to think that I'm ignoring you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm actually going to end up, you guys are very sweet. She was a wonderful woman. She made it to 98 years old. Kicker. So, we have about 25 minutes left of class. What I'm going to end up doing is, we went through everything that you need to do. I want you to utilize the time to research. I will stay in our classroom until about 10:35. And then I'm going to close out the class because I actually need to go to the funeral home to help with some of the arrangements and things. So that's why I only gave you a 10-minute break, because I knew that I was going to let you out early. So go ahead, use the rest of this time, go do some research, try to figure out a couple of subjects, and then narrow those down. I would say find as many subtopics as you can for your subjects, and I will show you how we can use those and build thesis statements, and we'll be doing that next week. So get as many subtopics as you can for your subject, okay? Seriously, it's like magic. You can turn it into a thesis statement. It's amazing. So please utilize the time to do that. I will stay in the classroom for about another 10 minutes, just in case you guys have any questions or if there's any issues. After that, I'm going to close out the classroom. You can feel free to email me, but just please know that Saturday and Sunday, I'm just not really going to be available, but I will respond to you on Monday. Okay. So do you guys have any questions on anything that I've just said? Any questions on what you need to do for research or for the topic journal? Anything like that? Okay. Well, as I said, you guys are extremely sweet. I will make sure that I post the homework information on our announcements page, so you have that information as well. Yeah, get some research done. Find as many subtopics. Seriously, I can't stress that enough. Find as many subtopics as you can for whatever subject or subjects that you're looking at for your research paper, because then we just want to bam them right into a thesis statement next week. Again, it's super easy. It's super cool. So go ahead, feel free to sign out and do work. Just know that I'll be here till 10:35 and then I'm closing out the class. Okay. So if you guys don't have any questions, I'm going to tell you to have a great weekend. Get some work done. Let me know if you have questions. I'll get back to you by Monday. Okay. All right. Feel free to sign out and have a great weekend then.